What's going on, guys? It's Crozen and welcome to the Cowboy build, as you could tell by my little accent there. But this build is pretty cool. It's like a gunslinger and a rifleman build combined all in one. You're going to be dressing up like a cowboy, and we are basing this build around the Nerd Rage perks. As you see, we have a little bit of a slow motion effect here when our health drops below 20%, and it really reminds me of Red Dead. For those of you who have played it, you would kind of know you kind of have this little slow motion effect in that game as well. I don't know, it just brings me back to that game. So as you see, this is how your special should look like in creation. As you see, we're going very high in intelligence. That is so we can get that Nerd Rage perk really early, but I will show you all the things that we're going to get, as you see right here in the perk tree. I actually accounted for all of the bobbleheads except for the luck one. Since we're not using luck, I kind of figured to just drop that anyways. You know, we're cowboys. We don't need luck in this game. So that's how we're going to play this. Now, as you see, we have our damage boosting perks here as far as the gunslinger and the rifleman perk. This will allow you to use things like semi-auto pistols, semi-auto rifles, and even shotguns. So it gives you a nice little variety. I didn't want to make this solely a pistol build. That just seems a bit ridiculous. I don't know. So I kind of wanted to add a little more variety to this build. So you're able to use rifleman and gunslinger. And this build actually does cap out at level 51. So what you're seeing here is pretty much how the build will look like and everything that you're going to need. Now, I did want to add a little bit of survivability to this build just because we're not using stealth. So I figured I would add Lone Wanderer. We're cowboys. We need to wander alone. So I figured Lone Wanderer, Life Giver, Medic, and armor, which will allow us to create some nice ballistic weave gear. So I figured all of those, and plus when you add in the Nerd Rage perk here, you're looking at some nice survivability. You really shouldn't die with this build, but obviously for those who are playing on survival, it may be a little challenging since, we're not using stealth and essentially we're leaving ourselves open to a lot of damage. But I figured with the survivability we have, we should be fine even on higher difficulties. Now, I wanted to make sure that you guys know that I did add a lot of perks which were VATS oriented. As you see, I added awareness. That way, if you have an energy weapon and you find that an enemy is weak in energy resistance, then you might as well use your energy weapon on that enemy. So I know that really doesn't fit the cowboy style, but it will help you out in certain situations if regular damage resistance is very high on a certain enemy. Now, I also added Chemist and Chem Resistant to this build. You can use chems and you could use them very well with this build. So I figured that was just a nice little addition. It only requires 6 points and you can pretty much be a master at all the chems in this game. Now, I also added Locksmith. I figured, I kind of went over this in my last build video. You really need one of these, whether it's Hacker or Locksmith. I mean, it just makes the game a little more enjoyable to pick locks or to hack terminals. So I kind of went with Locksmith as just a little secondary perk to add in this build. Now, I also went with Moving Target. This will give us even more, a little bit of survivability, as you see when we're sprinting. And it just kind of completes this build out and makes you a little bit more, bulky and tanky, so you're able to survive on those higher difficulty levels. Now, I also added Quick Hands. That way we're able to reload guns at no cost in VATS, and we're able to reload guns faster normally and in VATS as well. So I figured that really completes the build. We're using a lot of guns, and obviously we're not using stealth, so you have to be able to reload a little faster. Now, last thing I want to talk about was Nerd Rage and Gun Fu. Now, as you saw in creation, we only had 5 agility, I think. So you really have to level agility up a bit. Now, I wouldn't recommend you guys do this early. Obviously, Gun Fu isn't, the best perk out there, but it is kind of useful, especially at higher levels, as far as, if you're like level 50 or something. But it's really not going to be much of use early in the game. So I figured I would kind of leave agility lower to start with, and then you could level this up as you see fit. Maybe level 30 or 40 and get that up to 10, so you're able to get Gun Fu at level 50. or something like that of the sort. So really, you want to focus on Nerd Rage. I think Nerd Rage, it really brings out the Cowboy in this build. It's just, I don't know what it is. Like I said in the beginning, it really reminds me of Red Dead. So you want to get Nerd Rage maybe at level 2 or level 3, and also focus on that Lone Wanderer perk. Maybe get Life Giver and Medic for a little bit of survivability, and then focus on whatever type of gun you think you're going to use first. If you think you're going to be using more of a pistol kind of build, then you want to make sure you get Gunslinger first. And the opposite, if you are thinking on using a rifle, then you probably want to level up Rifleman first. But you want to max one of these out early and go from there. And that is really it, guys. Obviously, as you see, we don't really need a lot of perks. This build maxes out at level 51, which I don't think that's too high. Now, you're going to be gaining a lot of experience. That's also another thing I should note, since we're starting out with 10 intelligence, so you're going to level a little bit quicker than a lot of other builds. And that is really it, guys. So if you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like. If you have any requests as far as what other type of build I should release, let me know, and more than likely I will make that build. And if you guys want to guess what my next build will be, you can do that as well. So I will see you guys in the next video, and I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.